Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, boxing and MMA fans from around the world. Introducing from Bassett, California, the third man in the ring, Popeye Ray.
Welcome to Third Man in the Ring. I'm your host, Popeye Ray. Hey, before we get on, man, subscribe on YouTube, Ref Popeye Ray. Tell your friends to push that subscribe button. So, hey, today we got an awesome interview. This wasn't a scripted or planned interview. We came down here to San Diego for the top ranked fights, and who do I run into? The legend, Stitch Duran. And who else better to host it with me? Mike Rodriguez. So I want you to give a warm welcome to Stitch Duran and my host, Mike Rodriguez. Thank you, Stitch, for coming out, man.
It's a pleasure, man. And
awesome.
I want you guys to know, every time I saw Ray's show, I said, man, how come you never call me? And, so the first time I see him right here, of course, he comes right up to me, and I know what he's going to ask.
That's right.
That's right. Glad to have you here, man.
Thank you, brother.
And then I had this young man I knew, and he was a young kid, man. We're both stationed in the Air Force, but he trained at, he was stationed at Dallas Air Force.
Travis.
At Travis.
Yeah.
And at a school of kickboxing, and yeah, that's how we first met.
So, Stitch,
Yeah.
tell the fans how you got here today. I mean, from your childhood. I know you have well, I'm going to let you tell it. Where did you grow up at?
Man, I grew up in the San Joaquin Valley, a little town called Planada. Actually, I grew up in a migrant camp.
Okay.
My address is CPC number 12, California Packing
So you know
Company.
what it is to work, huh?
So I did all my life, bro. If you ate it, I picked it. So
That's right,
so I was born I lived in Hadley's camp after that, and then I moved to Planada. It's like 3 miles away.
Yeah.
And but all raza, puro farm workers. And
Brothers, sisters?
8 of us. Yeah,
Eight.
yeah, and we all did well. As a matter of fact, in June we're going to Guanajuato. That was the side where my father was from, but he was an orphan, so we never knew his side of the family. My mother's their family's from Chihuahua, El Paso, and Juarez, and Casa Grande. So we're going, the whole family. We're all going up there to look at our roots, bro. So never forget where I come from, Ray. Everything I do for the raza, and I'm nobody special. I just, I grew up as a farm worker. I always had dreams, like all of us, right? Look at you, and followed my dreams, and here we are. We're talking,
So living in that era, I mean, let's be honest, it was rough. I mean, how was school back in the day? I remember, I'm 60, and I'm just a little bit younger than you, but I remember in school they didn't even want us talking Spanish.
Yeah,
I can imagine how it was for you guys.
No, but we were in Spanish. Yeah, we were in Puerto Raza. No, we dominated the area, right? Of course.
Okay.
And that was never an issue. But no, growing up, but there was 3 towns that made our high school, and it was Planada, where I grew up at, Lee Grand, that's where the high school was at, and then Plattsburgh. And all 3 towns, I think our school was like 370 students. Majority.
Are you familiar with that area, Mike?
Yeah, I am, because even down south, just south a little bit near Fresno, and when I talked about when I was on your show, my family has humble beginnings. My grandparents were from Fowler. Both sides of my grandparents were fruit pickers. My parents, had to do that, and that's how they spent their summer and Easter vacations. My how my grandpa was telling me, when you had big families, the families could make a little bit more money because they had more people, and he could tell you they had more people picking fruit.
Oh,
yeah, it's funny he says that because look at that. But in the summertime, our little town would just blossom into farm workers because everybody from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Mexico, they'd all come to pick the crops. And I remember my dad was the foreman, and we in the middle of the morning go to work. There's 10, 12 cars that are lined up because they're following us to the crops. My dad would hire them and get them work. And so that was my lifestyle during the Cesar Chavez era. Yeah. I remember they walked from.
I'm a big union guy.
Yeah.
That's Chavez, man. That's the man right there.
Yeah, no, of course, man. And when they walked from Delano to Sacramento, they went by Planada and spend the night there, and families hosted them.
Asking, Stitch, was your father a supporter of Chavez?
100%. We fought for the rights of the people, bro. That's why I was, again, when they came through Planada, then the whole families, they put them up and wash their clothes.
So you obviously know what team playing is all about.
Well, I have to, hey, man. And it's of course, and that's why I've always fought for the underdog.
Yes.
That's always been our whole nature. My family's nature is to fight for, even in boxing, trying to get a union, or not so much a union because they're independent contractors, but an association. And that's a project that I've been working on. Not only that, but it's health and safety. But it all comes from the roots of this.
Exactly.
The UFC fired me because I spoke out about the Reebok deal.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah,
we're going to get to
so
that.
I've been okay, man. I've been blessed.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that because, I mean, the way you say you want to help the fighters, California, I don't know, you probably know already, Mike, California has a pension for their fighters.
No, I understand.
The only state in the world. Andy Foster, Mark Relia, our commissioners, our state capital of California, props to them, so.
And that's the thing, but I remember, I think I was listening to a speech that Andy had with Sergio Martinez, and Rudy Mondragon. And he was saying that they're trying to find guys that have qualified for the pension in California. But that's a start. But my concern is, why has nothing ever changed? You're talking about the union about 23 years ago, and I'll leave it with you guys. I put a documentary together called Boxer's Nightmare. And
Say that again?
About 24 years ago, I put a documentary called Boxer's Nightmare. And it deals.
Find that on YouTube?
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you. Out there, fam.
No, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at it, and then we'll talk about it on your show again.
Okay.
But it's then I didn't know that I was fighting for the rights of the fighters, and never did nothing with it. This young kid, John Bartonhouse, just graduated from the American Film Institute. Anyway, he passed away about a year ago, and I hadn't seen this film in 20-something years, bro. And I look at it, and everybody I have here are Hall of Famers. I got Mike Tyson before he got his tattoos. Mike gave me some crazy, I'll let you look at it. Fernando Vargas when he was going to fight Trinidad, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, but Richard Steele, Joe Cortez, Mills Lane, Emmanuel Stewart, Chuck Bodak, Miguel Diaz. I got all these legends that we talked about the hardships of combat sports, boxing.
Yeah.
And I looked at it here and I think, wow, man, after all these years, nothing's ever been done. Nothing. Now it affects MMA. So what I want to do is get some of these interviews. They're powerful interviews from Mike Tyson and these guys, and then get new interviews from young guys and say, how come nothing's ever changed? Ask them the same questions.
Yeah.
How come nothing's ever changed?
So that documentary now is just as relevant and as important, even more so than it was then.
100% right. And I'll tell you why, because all these guys are legends, bro. They gave us, Mike Tyson, very simply, in fact, I'll let you look at it. I asked him, what should we do for these guys? He goes, guys like me, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Archer De La Hoya, when we fight, get some of our money, let's give it to these guys. We don't need it, we're taken care of. Very simple. Mark Ratner was the commissioner. Yeah, Mark Ratner was the commissioner in Nevada at that time. He says the money comes from the pay-per-view. So if you're doing a pay-per-view fight, why not charge the fan an extra dollar and saying the dollar goes towards a pension plan, towards an insurance plan. Simple.
And you're right.
100%.
In theory, those things are simple. They really are. If somebody at the grassroots really moves it along with legislation and stuff like that, but as we know in society and politics, things kind of get muddled up and things kind of get lost in the translation. And I would love to see that, because all of us...
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's good.
It's going to happen, man.
And all of us see the downside of what happens to fighters that don't make it.
Yeah.
So you're telling me, Stitch, Mike, if Andy Foster or Pete, our commissioner, calls on you guys to go speak at the state capitol, would you do it?
100%.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about Andy.
Because
Andy,
real quick, I think the voices from
100%.
your side, as much as a fighter, but from your side who deal with cuts.
Nobody better to give it to him than us.
You know what I mean?
I just talked to Bob Bennett, that was the commissioner before the new athletic commissioner here, and I approved the stacking of the tape in Las Vegas, because he called me, Tom Loffer called me, Triple G's manager, and they filed a complaint when Canelo stacked the first fight they fought. And he asked me about it. I said,
details here, guys.
I said, it's bullshit. I said, the only reason you wrap a fighter's hands is they don't break them. Oh, well, you know what? It hits like a cast. Well, yeah, you want to create that. You want to create that solid foundation. Yeah. But use the same amount of gauze, the same amount of tape, and how you apply it, whether it's gauze and tape or just gauze and then tape, that should be your discretion. As long as the rule book says 1 inch away from the knuckles down, as long as that remains the same, what's the difference, bro? But it's education. So Bob Bennett came to the gym, and I wrapped his hands conventional way and stacking, and he didn't feel that much of a difference. I said, there's not. It's the same. The next day he brought a hand specialist. I did the same thing, no difference. So now stacking is permitted in Nevada. By logic, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But somehow the stigma when somebody hears stacking, people jump. They jump to conclusions like you're trying to get a competitive advantage.
But that's my point. Is see, none of us, none of us, Mike, myself, top line coaches, none of us have to be certified to do what we do. You do. You have to be certified by the state.
So let me go a little out of left field here. What do you think about when the casting of who's the fighter? When they caught him in California.
Margarito?
I know you weren't there, but what do you think of that? What do you think was so the big deal there?
Well, I think it's in our application. I don't know what was in it, this and that, but I interviewed, ESPN called me, and they asked what I thought.
So you were asked about it too?
Yeah. So I said, well, look, let me give you the basic principles. If I'm working, you're the fighter. You're fighting for a world title fight. By the time you sit down, I have my gauze and tape, the padding, I have that already lined up there. And so what happened with Margarito is Capetillo went into his bag and pulled out the padding, which were probably done in his room. And that's where the controversy was. I don't know what was in it. I don't know whether it had an effect. To me, I thought it was as crazy as bullshit. You know? Yeah, I mean, if you put a powder thing in there that you go with the gloves, well, they don't sweat that much inside. They sweat, but not enough to create
turn it into a cast.
But there's in the game of combat sport, there's so many myths, because like say, none of us have to be certified to do that. None of them. And it's not fair to the fighters. And I'm glad you brought me on the show, because I've always wanted to talk to you about it, because now you see your side of it, and now they see my side of it.
And you know what, fans, you just planted a seed. If Andy Foster allows me, I'm gonna follow you guys when you do your hand wrapping and your cut. You know what I mean? When you guys are working on cuts, I'm gonna ask Andy if I could be in there, man. But
anytime, you know, I always tell these young fighters, my job is to educate. It's always been, you know, and that's from my family traits, fighting for the rights of the people and all that.
So let me ask you that then, Stitch. Mike intimidate you?
No.
Does his son intimidate you?
No.
Let me.
That's confidence, man.
No, let me jump in on this. And me and him have had this conversation.
But real quick, there's some guys. Well, I could teach them.
Oh no! Let me tell you, and Mike, let's finish up with this one. When I first started, never forget, Marvis Frazier fought Bone Crusher Smith in Richmond, California. I had to quit kickboxing. Mike knows,
been
right?
Around a while.
Yeah, I've been around. Yeah, so I went to the fights as a fan in this, and I was learning to be a cutman. I was a trainer before I was a cutman, and I was trying to be a cutman. But this guy did a good job, so I went up to him. I said, "Hey man, nice job on the guns. I'm trying to learn to be a cutman. Can you tell me what you did?" He says, "F you. I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me." And he walked away. And I said, "I'm never going to be like that guy. I'm always going to teach."
And I'm grateful.
Thank you for that.
No, of course.
You know what I mean?
And I'm grateful for that. And to provide a little context, I'm going to call him Jacob. Everybody knows him as Stitch because
I was before I was Stitch, bro.
But I know him before he was Stitch. When I was a boxer at Travis Air Force Base, off and on, you know, him and another guy would come out and help us. And I've known him since I was 19 years old. And then like him, I started off as a trainer. And then I realized because of my regular job, I couldn't be he had a career. I couldn't be in the gym with everybody like some of these trainers. And then lo and behold, what ends up happening is Stitch transcends what a cutman is from MMA to boxing, and he just transcends it in a way with education. Anytime anybody ever came at him correctly and asked for advice, counsel, or help, he has never turned anybody away, and he told me that many years ago, and I try to do the same. But he can really connect to those guys that told him F you, right, back in the old days.
Yeah.
It's a little different now. If you look at the top cutmen, the one working a lot of the world title fights, we're all very friendly. We try not to step on each other's toes. We give each other that respect. But it's this man here that here's what I like to say. He took the art of a cutman and the craft out of the Stone Ages and bridged it to the next generation that's going to benefit the people with all the things that he's talking about today.
Well, knowledge, man, and you know, keep in mind, I'm a martial artist before I was in the boxing game, and our job as a martial artist is to give, to teach, right? But then that's always been my bringing anyway. But I just see so many faults, and I tell these young kids, you know, in the gym, I said, look, if you're looking for a cut man, ask him this question. Well, number one, if he put the swab in his mouth or his ear, get another cut man. That's filthy. That's old school.
We've had many.
My wife's a nurse, and she always says, "That's not right."
That's ugly. I said, but ask him this fundamental. Ask him what the mechanics are of the adrenaline chloride 1000. What does it do let me ask you, what is the medication that we use?
That's to stop the bleeding, right?
Yes, but do you know the mechanics behind it? There's a question, and you shouldn't. It's not your job.
Because our inspectors are on top of that.
But they don't know either because I ask him and I blow him up. And so I tell the guys, so if the Cutman says, oh, it's a coagulant, get another Cutman because that's the wrong answer. The adrenaline chloride 1000 that we use in the swab that you put on the cut is a vessel constrictor. So it closes up the blood vessels. So you see, whenever I work on a cut, first thing I do is I'll go and I'll pinch it. And I'll clear it out of that blood and the little capillary, little veins. I'll put the adrenaline and it absorbs into the veins and it closes it. That's the mechanics. So if the guy tells you it's a coagulant, get somebody else. Simple as that.
You learning, no?
I'm learning.
You're learning?
I'm learning.
Yeah, but it's true, right?
Thank God I paid attention to this along the line.
Well, he knew already.
Well, because we've had conversations.
I think I checked with him on that. Mike, what does adrenaline do?
And the
So
other,
you still, Mike, are you telling me you still talk to Stitch about your
100%. There's times
we communicate all the time.
There's times that we're like, we'll see something, right? And we'll comment, like, especially when we see somebody with a swab in their mouth and their dirty mouth around, we're trying to create the most sterile environment, even under difficult situations. Yeah. And I think a lot of people want to be gimmicky. And we were talking about nicknames at breakfast this morning, and some people come and give their own nicknames. I'm sure he didn't give himself his own nickname. What are the origins of your nickname, Jacob?
So I was when I had kickball, I used to work with Dennis Alexio. Dennis Alexio was the baddest athlete I ever met in that time. Great kickboxer, and came out in the movie.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, but he's in prison right now for embezzlement and all that stuff. Anyway, great athlete. But I was his sparring partner, Dave Rooney. We were fighting in Vallejo, California at the fairgrounds. And I worked Dave Rooney's cuts, and I was learning to be a cutman at that time. And I would only...
Quick, Stitch. Did you fight before?
I kickboxed. When I came back from Thailand, kickboxing was pretty much non-existent. So I joined some karate tournaments and beat the crap out of everybody with just kicks. But that was it. It was non-existent, especially Muay Thai. Kickboxing was pretty much non-existent.
That's real famous, like in Taiwan.
In Thailand, that's Thailand and something like Holland and all that.
You have to tell Ray that Thailand and Taiwan are two different places. You know that, right?
I thought that was right by Compton.
Yeah.
No, that's the other side of town.
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead with that.
Oh shit, I forgot what I was telling man.
About Dave Mooney and Dennis Alexio. And
So I work on Dave Rooney's cuts, and knowing now first time. And knowing, because the only way you would learn is by seeing these other guys, and they would get tape and they would cut it little strips and butterfly. So that's what I did to Dave Rooney, and knowing now it wasn't a bad cut. Now what I know, but he says, "Oh man, I don't have to go to the hospital. You save me some stitches. I'm gonna call you Stitch," and that's where the name came from. So I tell this Dave Rooney. Last time I heard, he was a fisherman in Alaska or something like that, and I don't even know if he knows how much he just kind of changed my name. Or my life, just by that name.
And that just took off from there, correct?
What year was that?
Oh, well, when Dennis Alexio fought in Vallejo, I don't know.
No?
In the 80s, yeah.
Dennis Alexio used to come to our gym in Concord.
Yeah, he's a bad boy, man.
And he used to move around because people don't know this. He actually was undefeated as a professional boxer as well.
Well, he was 12-1.
Yes, or 12-1. I remember when he was 12-0.
Yeah, 12-1.
Came out in a couple movies too.
He came out in Kickboxer. He was Jean-Claude Van Damme's brother. Great athlete, man. Great athlete. And I had just come back from Thailand, and I knew who he was, but I was kicking the bag in the gym, and he's on the other side. And, man, where'd you train at? That's how we stayed up and ended up working together. So I used to do his kicks.
Does that pretty much explain why you got into the MMA game?
Yeah. Well, the MMA game kind of got into me. I knew Dana.
Called on you?
I knew Dana before the UFC. We were in the gyms all the time, and I was working with fighters. He was doing pads for the housewives and all that stuff, and he brought me in. I was doing a K1 at the Bellagio.
Yeah.
Bob Sapp fought Chemo. I was working with Chemo, and Dana was in the audience, and he asked for my card. And he said next day, "Hey man, we bought the UFC and want to know if you'd be interested in being one of the cutmen." And that was a smart move because Leon Tabbs, the original cutman from UFC #1, was Bernard Hopkins' cutman, and he came on board with him, and he stayed with him. So then they were smart enough to have a cutman in each corner because guys didn't know how to wrap hands, they didn't know how to work cuts, and that's how I got started with that. And
how fun was the early days of the UFC?
They were classic, man. They were classic.
Well, that's how you became famous.
Yeah, through the UFC, and people still stop me, right?
Yeah,
all over.
When I watch the UFC, I'm a big I love
Yeah.
boxing and MMA, but when I see it, I say, that's a homie there, right?
Yeah. It's crazy, bro. Hey, man, people. I've been gone 9 years, and people all over the world. Hey, man, to the UFC. I see you in the UFC. We were talking about that today.
Well, you know,
You'll always be
associated.
Yeah.
with that.
Well, because Stitch was a brand,
Yeah.
whether maybe the brass at the UFC want to admit it or not, he was a brand and one of the most recognizable people as part of that brand. But the great thing about it is when he left the UFC, he didn't really skip a beat because he already had many roots in boxing. And as you can see, how many movies have you done?
7 movies, bro. Que loco, ¿verdad?
There you go, 7 movies, guys.
Hey, I'm not even an actor,
and he's
man.
my guest. That's right.
I know, hey, man, you got to talk to my agent.
Yeah.
No, you know, it was a blessing, man, because the first one I was working for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. I had a great job, 8 to 5, company car.
I remember your company car when you used to come to the gym.
Yeah, I used to drive cars. Every 3 years I got a new car, and so I got a job transfer to move to Vegas. From there I just kind of started. And
Isn't that crazy, though, that your move to Vegas was like the stars lined up for what your next chapter was going to be? I mean, had you stayed in Vallejo, I mean, or Fairfield,
that would have been a little harder.
It would have been more difficult.
All this wouldn't happen. I came to Vegas to follow my dreams to be a cutman, and with R.J. Reynolds, I put in for a job transfer, and they were downsizing, and finally they called me, say, hey, look, there's an opening in Vegas, but you got to be there in a week. I said, man, a week? I can't be there in a week. And you know, I talked to him in 2 weeks, bro. 2 weeks, I transferred my school to one of my students, Randy Bassart. I sold my house, took a loss. I put my family in a U-Haul, drove 9 hours to Vegas, and I took like a $25,000 a year cut and pay. Follow my dreams. My wife supported me, my family supported me.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, bro. You could be a multi-millionaire and be depressed.
No, it's not. For me, it's never been about the money.
Yeah.
It's been about this little Chicano that grew up as a farm worker, making it to the top of the mountain. And like
That's
I
a
say,
true climb, man.
but it's I ain't no different than nobody else, man.
Same
So,
like Mike, you know,
yeah.
where he grew up and became a detective.
Yeah. Mr.
That's
Cop.
pretty cool,
I
yeah.
know. And that was my thing. I was
got cop jokes, but we'll save those for later,
I wanted to be a Huda. I went to college for that.
Oh,
but then
You wanted to be a Huda too, right? You told me.
Okay,
yeah. So, but I was a cop in the Air Force.
Just on the other side.
Yeah. No, but I was a cop in the Air Force, and I had an easy job. I could type, so I was a comp plotter. Be advised, you got a 10-8, 10-2, you know. And
I remember the old comp plotters, but if you made a mistake, you had to start over.
Yeah. So those are fun.
So let me ask you, Stitch, when it came to UFC, what are the memorable fights that you had?
Oh, bro, I got tons of them, man. But I
can imagine.
There's
something
few.
off the top of your head.
Chuck Liddell fought Vanderlei Silva, and
You guys can look at Chuck Liddell, Vanderlei Silva.
and Vanderlei Silva. I was working with Chuck Liddell, but about a week before, I saw Vanderlei, and they used to call me Santana. The Brazilians call me Carlos Santana. Oye, como va, right? So anyway, I see Vanderlei, and hey, man, good luck and all that. I said, look, man, I'm gonna give you good karma. It's my birthday that day, so good luck, huh? So I'm working with Chuck, and man, it's one of my top 3 fights ever. They're cracking each other. You can just hear them cracking, and Chuck's cut and all that. I work on them. I clean them up, and I go see Leon's working on Vanderlei after the fight, and he's all swollen. And Vanderlei, how you doing? How you feeling? Oh, no, Steve, I'm okay. And bro, he says, Steve, happy birthday. Man,
During the fight, huh?
During the fight, man.
That's crazy.
No, during the fight, man. And then, like, Lyoto Machida, he won his world title from, that was his name. So anyway, I go in, Rashad Evans. I go in the dressing room, and his father's very shogunist, very Japanese still. And he's there, and I go congratulate Lyoto, and he says, Stitch in front of his father. He says, Stitch, in the ring, you are my father. Wow. So that's a mentality I give to these guys now. Vladimir Klitschko going into boxing his last fight with Joshua. I didn't see Vladimir to the weigh-ins, him and Vitaly, and I've been with him for 8 years, right? And my daughter Carla had got married in Crete, so I got there Thursday night. But I'm talking to him like this, you know, and finally I say, you know, Vladimir, don't worry about nothing tomorrow, man. I'll take care of you like you're my son. And I leave, because I know they can't sleep, bro. I'm putting the final Vaseline on him right before Michael Buffer does the announcements of 90,000 crazy Brits, millions of all around the world, and he looks at me like this and says, you could call me son. Bro, I said, yes, I got into him, right, yeah. So last time I've seen him, actually, I was like 3 months later in Germany. I said, Vladimir, that one moment, why? He says, Stitch, there's very few people I trust in my life. You're one of them.
And that's what the fighters do. Sometimes they're letting us put it in our hands, for their well-being.
Hey, they're our babies, man.
And with that said, you don't just deal with cuts. You deal with swelling.
The mental game.
Yeah.
And the mental game, you could teach somebody how to work cuts and how to work swelling, but you can't teach them the mental game. You got to been there, and you got to understand where they're at and where they're going, and what have you not. So I'm going to let you listen to a little piece that Vladimir sent me when I was doing the movie Creed.
Put it next to your mic.
Yeah, I will. Let me find it. So, so they would always, Michael B. Jordan would always hit me up for what's the proper way, and he asked about who should give away the WBC belt. So I explained to him Jose Sulaiman and Mauricio's. So I'm in Dallas when Spence is fighting Ugas, and I see Mauricio. And I explained to him how we did it. And he said, well, look, let's take a picture and let's send it to the Klitschko's, because they're both fighting Russia, right? Vitaly's the mayor of Kiev. So we sent it to him, and Vladimir sent me this message, bro. And it kind of defines everything that you do with somebody. So listen to this.
My two favorite men, especially Stitch, with whom I spent so much time talking, and he actually saved my career. On a lot of different stages. If Stitch wouldn't be in my corner, I would not make the record of 12 years being a champion. So that's so great to see you both, and Stitch is the man.
That's right.
I tell you, man, it's it
awesome,
almost made me cry when I saw it, because
those are emotional things.
and you can't pay for that. Yeah, you can't pay for it.
You can make all kinds of money and you can have all kinds of fame, but I guarantee you, because I've known him for so long, that means as much, if not more, to him than money and fame.
It's never been about money, man.
Hey guys, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors. One of them is Black Widow Investigations Legal Services. Tell them Popeye Ray sent you. Their phone number is 818-599-3613. Black Widow Investigations. Hey, want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Riva Towing. Did you know in 2023, they were the top towing service in the Inland Empire, and they serve all of Southern California. But I want to give a shout out to Riva Towing. You need them, tell them Popeye Ray sent you. But at the same time, he's venturing out. He's opening up his own sports bar, and it's going to be called Ringside Bar. It's not open yet, and keep your ears open for the grand opening day. It's going to be in Lake Elsinore. They're going to have boxing, MMA, but the bar is shaped like a ring. That's crazy, guys. The bar is shaped like a ring. Keep your ears out for the grand opening. It's going to be in Lake Elsinore. They're going to have food, alcohol, the whole thing, man. A DJ. They're going to have boxing, MMA, football, baseball, every kind of sport. But check them out. That's going to be Riva Towing, and they're owner of soon-to-be Ringside Bar.
We want to also thank our friends at Kelstar Roofing. Kelstar Roofing specializes in residential roofing, installing concrete roofing tiles, and composition asphalt shingles. They have been serving the Inland Empire for over 31 years. Call on Kelstar Roofing for all of your roofing needs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from my when I look at you, Stitch, same with you, Mike. You're not going to sell your soul.
No.
You know what? And people respect you and like you. They're going to take you for what you are. That's it,
Yeah, I try to respect everybody, man.
I've always seen that in you,
Yeah.
I've always seen that in you. Let's talk about what's the white elephant in the room. What happened with the UFC? If you don't mind me telling.
No. Hey, man, I'd be glad to, man. I became the face of the rebellion, man.
That's right.
Since it was,
that's the Cesar Chavez.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Is Dana brought me in, and I was the primary cut man. So what happened is fighters were making $50, $100 a fight on sponsors. I was making money on sponsored watches. I got a shitload of watches because my hands are always on TV and Bad Boy and Zions, and so we were making bank. So they would come to me for sponsorship. I would negotiate and then negotiate for you and get you some sponsorship. So that was going well. And then they went into Reebok and didn't notify none of the fighters or nothing, and went exclusive with Reebok, and they'd let them know that you guys can't wear no more sponsors. So they called the Cutmen together, and they told us the same thing. And I tried to negotiate more money at least for somehow. Yeah. Nah, there's no money in the kitty and all that. So I said, wow. All right. So everybody's effing Dana, Reebok, UFC at that time, and the guy John Nash from BloodyElbow.com. Never met the guy. Called me and says, would you be interested in doing an interview how the Reebok deal affected the Cutmen? Well, go back to a farm worker, the days of Cesar Chavez. And I said, if I don't speak up, my parents wouldn't be proud of me. Right. So the interview I did, and go to BloodyElbow.com. John Nash.
Say that again?
It's BloodyElbow.com.
Check that out, fam.
John Nash. Yeah, it's very politically correct because I worked with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company for 23 years. I knew the political, but it went viral, bro. It just blew up, and I'm getting calls from all over the world. And I did like 57 interviews in a week. Had camera crews coming to my house and everything. It was the biggest thing in MMA. And everybody supporting me, that this and that, and so friends call me. I'm at Costco with my wife, and I knew what it was about, and I said, well, give me an hour, I'll be home. They call me, and their voice is cracking, and the only thing they said is, because of the interview you did about Reebok, the UFC is not going to use you no more. And I said, all right.
So you knew Stitch already?
Well, I knew it was going to come, yeah. And,
did you think it was more from the UFC or Reebok? Because they had invested.
No, I'll tell you that. To remind me. So, yeah, I said, all right, well, look, do me a favor. I told my friend, we're all friends. Do me a favor. You tell Dana I said he ain't got no balls, that he should have called me first since he's the one that brought me in. And I'm getting all these messages, and the first guy I message, or I read his text, I respond to him. I want you to be the first to know. UFC let me go for speaking out about the Reebok deal, and that shit went viral, bro. But I got job offers from all over the world. Till now, people stop me.
Exactly.
And till now, people still stop me. Wesley Snipes at the first Creed premiere, he comes in, hey man, UFC did you wrong. Hey Wesley, how you doing? Nice meeting you. Goldberg, the wrestler, hey man, F Dana, F so. But you were talking about Reebok, so my wife and I and my son Daniel were having breakfast, and I get a phone call, and it's Mike from Reebok. Stitch, I want you to let you know, man, I met you before, you're a great guy. It wasn't us. So he laid that out. I said, no, listen.
And you know what? He didn't have to do that. I'm sure that enlightened you on a few things.
Of course, and I had it on speakerphone, right? So my wife and my son were listening, but yeah, because I didn't know what he was going to say.
Is it fair to say politics or?
100%. Yeah, of course, but I understand the corporate system. See, because I worked it, so I understand. And, like say when Dana brought me in, I think there was like 12 members in the employees, brand new, just started. And, now they got hundreds and hundreds.
Could you see, as you were there from the infancy, the corporate structure starting to build within the company?
Yeah. They, one of my sponsors was a gun store in Las Vegas, and I would wear a patch. It was like $5,000 a month I would get to shoot. And they went into Fox, and Fox says no drugs, no alcohol, no gambling. So they, I couldn't use that patch, but I was talking to one of the attorneys, and I said, well, did you call Chris up and explain to him, F him, you don't, there's that mentality. I said, all right.
But here's my opinion. This goes back to your childhood.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if Cesar Chavez and your father didn't walk and strike for the rights of the farm workers, imagine where our people would be. Yeah. And they're still not where they should be, but thank God they're not where they used to be.
Hey,
it says a lot, Stitch, about you. Same with you, Mike.
Well, we had a conversation at breakfast with our good friend and top cutman Mike Basil. It was me, Stitch, and Basil, and Stitch looked at Mike. He goes, most of the cutmen are Mexican. and I chimed in and I said, and a lot of them were from California.
Yeah, I ain't want to say that, but just.
But we're giving each other a bad time.
Love, man. But no, that's right. It's just, those moments of struggling and fighting. But I talk in some of the videos. I remember my mom and his sisters, the ladies. We're out in the fields. They say cotton, whatever it is, but they'd have to go all the way over there and go to the restroom. And we used to drink out of the same metal bucket, same 110 cup. And pesticides, bro. They said we got so much pesticides in us, and mosquitoes don't even mess with us. Yeah.
Mosquitoes die after they bite.
They don't mess with us, but we're like Raid, man. But seriously, I remember we'd be picking peaches or nectarines, whatever, in the trees, and you see the leaves, and you got the little spots of pesticides.
But what's crazy, in my opinion, because we heard about it on the boxing side,
Yeah.
they fired Stitch, but right away the truth came out.
Oh yeah,
So it was
all
stripped.
over. Yeah.
As far as I know, nothing lingered like, oh, Stitch did this, and that's why.
Yeah.
No, it came out that he spoke his piece.
Yeah, yeah.
He spoke what he felt was right, and it's a trip. As soon as you got fired, you were just lifted up.
It's
know what I mean?
nothing ever changed. I had more job offers.
The easy part for you, and I know you didn't wrestle with it because of your roots and where you come from and what you stand for, but a lot of lesser men, Ray, would have just said, you know what, I'm just going to go with the flow.
Oh yeah.
But like he said,
Oh yeah.
and I think I mentioned it when I was on there, he's still his mother's son, and I'm still, his parents' son, and I'm still my parents' son, and there's just some things that we have to do, whether it's right, wrong, or whatever, that you're just going to do because that's what's instilled in you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't be compromised.
No, I was told my kids, if you're right, you can never be wrong. They might think so, but you can't be wrong.
Now, if you're married, you could be right. If you're married, you could be right, and you could still be wrong.
That's a different story, bro.
Yeah.
That's a different chapter, man.
Yeah.
I know it's funny because, they're filming a documentary on my life. I didn't tell you about that. I'll show you the trailer also.
It's not out yet?
No, it's called From the Fields to the Garden. I wrote a book.
One more time.
It's called From the Fields to the Garden.
Let's keep a lookout on that.
Well, but first you got to read the books. The books are at Amazon.com. So
that book is on Amazon.com. One more time.
it's From the Fields to the Garden.
To the fields, to the garden.
From the Fields.
From the fields.
So-
Check that out, guys.
So the fields are me being a farm worker, and the garden is my goal was to reach it to Madison Square Garden. Been there many times. So anyway,
That's right.
Yeah, so
See?
I've been in for boxing and MMA, and so in the documentary, when I signed with these guys, about a week later I get a call that Triple G is fighting, of all places, at the Garden. So these guys readjust their budget and they give us all access. So we got that footage, and then COVID kicked in. And then and then that stopped it for a while, but we got Tyson Fury, Sean Porter, we got all kinds of guys that they interviewed, went back to my hometown, and they got the drones on the fields, and so Michael B. Jordan's, we got him interviewed, and so our final filming was, I got inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago.
Congrats.
in Montebello.
Congrats. Yeah.
So that's our final day of filming. So that's how the documentary will end. So si se puede, bro.
That's right. And congrats on the
Thanks.
Hall of Fame, guys.
Yep.
Stitch made it in.
No.
So with that said, let's talk about some cuts. Well, just off the top of your head, and I'm asking you too, Mike. I don't even think I asked you that in our interview. Any particular cut stands out in your young career to even now? Because let's be honest, in your young career, when that ugly cut came up, which I know you've done a lot, did you ever say, like, can I fix this in 1 minute? Mind you guys, 1 minute to work on a cut, no matter how small, how bad, 1 minute. I mean, I've gotten stitches in the emergency and they're working on me 20, 35 minutes. You know
And you were there crying and bitching
pretty
and
much.
moaning.
I fainted twice, eh?
Yeah. For the most part, 50 seconds. If you're real good, 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get up there, by the time the fighter...
They kick you out.
But my coming out party when I moved to Vegas was Raul Marquez fought Keith Mullins. Raul was the IBF middleweight champ. And I got pictures of... He had cuts
Can we
here.
find that on YouTube?
Cuts here, yep. Maybe. Sure, you can find everything on YouTube.
Say that one more time.
Raul Marquez when he fought Keith Mullins.
Marcus versus Mullins. Check that out, guys.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
So Raul ended up 5 cuts, and I kept him in the game, and people didn't know who I was, and that was my coming out fight. And
But you as your Cutman, how did you feel? Was there a panic? Was there a sense of urgency?
I've never been panicky. That's number one requirement for anybody. You see guys like this, I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
they're doing this, and but that's composure's number one.
Yeah, you have to
That's
be
right.
Composure is number one.
And then again, I would think, I never fought competition. I was just a spar monkey. But if I'm feeling you nervous,
yeah,
you're working on,
yeah.
I'm going to be nervous.
Yeah, 100%. That's
You know what
why.
I mean? Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, and something we did touch on when I was on, and I talked about that I had Francisco Vargas against Salido.
Yeah.
And when I got
we
back
did talk.
when I got back to the locker room, the first text that I got was from Stitch, and he says, and I still have the text. I have to find it on my phone, and I screenshot it, and he says, Mike, that was some grade A work on your end with Vargas, because Vargas was cut 3 times against Salido. and that meant the world to me. That because we have sometimes we have to be our own critiques,
Sure,
or for better or for worse.
Let me ask you this, Stitch. If he would have messed up, would you have told him?
Yeah.
I was it Joey? Joey is from New York. Is the Filipino guy. He's chewing gum. I said, man, you did a good job, man, but the gum has to go.
If he sees somebody,
yeah.
If he sees somebody not wearing gloves, he'll be like, you want to create a hygienic environment. You're already at a disadvantage with time.
I had one guy when I was doing kickboxing. Frida Gibbs was fighting for a world title, and this guy pulls out a ringside cornerman jacket and puts it on. It's satin and it's all wrinkled. I made him take it off. I said, man, you can't go looking like that. This girl's fighting for a world title on TV, and I made him take it off. So I earn all my stuff, bro. It's so important, but it's discipline.
That's right.
It's a system. Look at you. Look, how many guys you got from? Look at this. Still got creases, bro. Right?
Yeah, he's even outdoing you because I know you don't even use the iron. You put your stuff under the mattress.
Yeah, that's
how you iron it.
No, that's from the old days.
Yeah.
That's when you had no electricity.
Yeah.
That's when lights out were at 10.
So Stitch, if Joe Blow, the boxer, starting a new career, can he walk up to you and say, "Can I hire you for my fight?" Or you only work with top fighters?
No, it depends. A lot depends on everything, and
your schedule pretty much.
Yeah, schedule pretty much. But if let's say I'm doing a show tonight, and if this young kid wants me to work with him, he's a 4, 6, or 8 rounder, I don't even charge him, because I let them know. I said, I want you to understand.
And I'm not blowing smokes.
Yeah.
That says a lot, guys.
No.
Yeah, well, and the reason why is I want them to understand the importance of a good corner. Education. My money's not going to come from them, So you always got to give back.
I think you try to build those bridges of goodwill. I think him and I are similar in that sense, and I take it from his cue. Yeah. That you always want to give. You got to give.
You have to, man.
You have to give before you get, and we're blessed. Okay, we're blessed. Obviously, he set the tone. There's other guys. We're working a lot of world title fights. We're blessed to do what we do. You're blessed to do what you do at a high level. Think about this tonight. All of us are going to be working on a nationally televised show, right? And top rank in big fights where millions of people are going to see us be able to do not only what we love, but to work at a high level. What's better than that? And when you consider where we all came from?
Yeah, I know. I always look at that. I think, man, I'm the little Chicano, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, people
people
blowing smoke against Stitch, but the way you grew up, that's a hit.
Oh, it's an inspiration, bro.
That's a
think about it, Ray.
My dumb mentality being raised in the state was my own fault.
Yeah.
But you were literally fighting to eat.
Yeah.
Well, think about
literally,
this.
Man.
People, when they say Ray, they still got to say Ray Corona to know who they're talking about. Yeah. When they say Mike, they got to say Mike Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
When you say Prince, you know who you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
When you say J-Lo, you know who you're talking about. You don't even need to say his name.
That's
you
right.
just have to say Stitch. That says it all.
And when I'm doing the third movie with Michael B. Jordan, right? Every day I'm wrapping his hands. So just him and I. And I'm wrapping his hands. I said, Michael, do you know my real name? He says, Stitch. I said, no. Do you know my real name? He says, I don't. I says, Jacob. But in this documentary, they got him there. He said, man, he don't look like a Jacob. Yeah, but people don't know my real name. Like they knew me as Jacob because I was Jacob before I was Stitch. And he was,
I'll refer to him as Stitch, but when it's just us. So we're in Vegas last month, and his daughter's there with us, and she looks at me and she goes, you don't call him Stitch. I said, well, I refer to him as Stitch, but I remember him as Jacob. And Jacob. It's just, I'm just more comfortable, for whatever reason, when it's just me and him, I'm more comfortable calling him Jacob.
But that's, for me, that's acceptable, because these are guys I knew before I came to this level.
Well, when I text you this morning, Mr. Duran.
Yeah.
I was raised with respect.
Yeah.
And you don't...
Now you're going to make him feel old, though.
No, it's not that. It's just,
Yeah, no, I understand.
You don't cross that.
But you know what the good thing is now? When you break bread with somebody, now you'll feel more comfortable calling him Stitch.
Yeah. With that said, what do you expect from referees? Let me plant the seed of why I'm saying this. In California, we are the most trained in the world. We have officials, referees from all over the world attending Jack Reese and Tom Taylor's class. on refereeing. And the reason I bring that up, the big thing that Jack Reese and Tom Taylor tell us, let the cut man do his job. Don't call the doctor in before they get that 1 minute to work on, or like you said, 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Why would you hinder this guy's fight, cut his dreams, before you let the cut man work? How do you feel about that? Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, 100% in this documentary that I'll send you guys, Richard Steele and Joe Cortez, they say, it depends. You look at see who the cut man is. If he's a qualified cut man, let the man do his work.
Yeah.
Give him that opportunity, because some cuts will take a round or two to start controlling.
And that's
right?
What they tell us too.
They don't just magically stop.
But everything, and like I tell people, when a referee or a doctor stops a fight, is because the fighter is at a disadvantage. Yeah. And if you could take away that disadvantage and working with you side by side, give that kid that opportunity to win. I've made a lot of money for a lot of guys doing that, and working with you, and giving them that opportunity.
When they feel, please don't stop this fight. Please, give me a chance for my cut man to work on. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Mike, 2-3 rounds later, like, wow, that cut's totally under control.
Yeah.
But when it happened, it looked like a bloody mess. And sometimes we tend to panic. To toot my own horn, I always, thank you God, as far as I know, I've never seen a fighter lose their life behind a cut.
Yeah.
So with that said, give the corner man a chance to work on that cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after, what I always say, if I feel, because we're always in contact with our doctor, if he says, I need to see it, okay, I'm not going to go against the doctor.
Yeah.
But even our doctors say, give the cut man his chance.
But with that said, though, too, you can look at corners between rounds, and you can tell who's calm, who's cool, who knows what they're doing, and you can tell if there's an experienced corner as well that you probably need to keep an eye on a little bit more than if you see him or other guys in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Dr. Wallace, I was doing a fighting with Chon Cepeda and somebody, but he said, Stitches work on it, give him that opportunity.
And I was actually the commentator for that fight.
Yeah, you were that one.
Down in Carson, and I was actually the ringside commentator. And I walked over to him because they said, "Hey, go talk to Stitch in the corner." And I said, "Hey,
Sharif, that was Sharif."
Okay.
Why do I have too many fights, man?
And this is not to blow smoke. I heard a comment about you about a year ago. Stitch Duran can stop a woman's period. No disrespect, just a comment.
Yeah.
I said, he's pretty good,
Yeah, well, that's a compliment. Yeah, no, but it's funny you say that, man.
It's a trip. I go, and this is during training when they said made that comment. He goes, so give your cornerman, your cut man, a chance to work on that guy. Don't steal from this fighter.
Right.
And sometimes you got to put things. I know you said it's kind of a joke, and maybe it's not the best thing to say, but it puts things into context when the push comes to shove. Yeah. That's what you need.
Yeah, but in the same token, is me as a cutman, I got to look at when is a good time to stop a fight.
Yeah.
Do I have that privilege?
That was my next question.
Because I don't say much, but I always tell the guys, my job is not to say, but if I say something, trust me, there's a truth to it.
Yes.
But Andre Durrell fought Jose Esquirgue in Washington, D.C. or something, the second fight. But he's taking the kind of shots that I consider will give you long-term damage. Come in here, they just go right through you. And
New York City.
Yeah, in New York City. And no, it was D.C. or something.
Was it D.C.?
So anyway, he comes to the corner, I'm working on him, and I said, look, if the doctors are talking, I can see them, the doctors are thinking of stopping the fight. You want to continue? He goes, stop the fight. No. And Virgil Hunter and his grandfather, no, one more round. I said, nope. As long as he said no, done.
That's right.
And the next day, him and his wife called me like 8 a.m. Says, I want to thank you, Stitch, because I had nothing in me. So sometimes you got to look at that and understand what position he's in, because he wasn't going to win the fight, but the chances of him getting that long-term injury like dementia was
Let me ask you a question, because I saw you when you were walking back to the dressing room. Not the training people, but there were people around him, friends and family, that were upset.
Yeah, they were mad because they didn't know.
They were mad. They were initially mad at him because he stopped the fight, because they were letting emotions without an expert eye on it. and he did the right thing.
Bro, I'm in the dressing room. You guys are jumping on me. I had my scissors. I put them in my hand.
That's right.
You know.
You got a pair on you right now, right?
Yeah. I had it. I said, nah, you know what? And then his brother came and jumped on them. Nah, you guys so and this and that.
I remember
because he
that.
understood. Yeah, but you're right. Nah, man, they know nothing about the game. Yeah. But they realized I saved this kid's ass.
Armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You're right. He could have added. He probably added years to Andre's life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was nice for him to call me, you know, and says, "Hey man, thank you. You know, my wife thanks you." And I just had nothing with me. I could see it, you know, and so yeah.
So you're married, obviously, huh?
Yeah.
How long you been married?
30-something years, and this is me. Sorry, I got a chicken for Southwest. 30-something years. You know, my wife is great, man. She everything she's done, says sacrifices. Who would move to Vegas and take a $25,000 year cut and pay?
How many years have you been married?
Almost going on 40 years. You know, and
it's heavy, bro.
Yeah, it's heavy.
So
She's great.
You got
man.
a solid wife there, huh?
Oh yeah. But I tell you what, all these Amazons and all that, they know her by first name now. You know, I got these drivers.
There's got to be a payoff somewhere.
Yeah, these drivers come, hey, how you doing, Charlotte, and all that. But nah, she's a dog, man. Everything.
You check in?
No, I'm just waiting for it to kick in, and then so it's Southwest Airlines. If you don't check in right away, you're sitting. I like aisle seats only, man.
Yeah, the C is for center.
Yeah.
Is for center.
I'm too old for that, man. The windows and all that.
I got to go to the restroom like 20 times a day.
I got a story about that. We talked about this earlier. I had my car. I drove to Fresno for some fights, and he had a flight. Yeah. We had fights in Vegas like early in the afternoon the next day. Friday was on ESPN. Saturday was on Fox. And he tells me, he goes, "You drive?" I said, "I did." He goes, "Well, my flight, I go from Fresno to Oakland or LA and then to Vegas, right?" Yeah. He goes, "I'm barely going to make it." I said, "Well, you know what? Let's get our shit together right now." All right. So we drive, and it's not the easiest drive from Fresno to Vegas, but I just remember like one of us had to pee like every 10 minutes.
Hey, Mike, can you pull over?
Yeah. That's me. I gotta pee every time.
But you know, living in Vegas, you learn to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you travel and all that. You know, it helps balance you out and all that.
He'll get to our age where he's got to pee more.
Well, I'm not that far behind. I'm only 2 years younger than you.
Yeah, you'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there, bro.
I just don't dye my hair like you do.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not working anymore.
No.
Well, you will.
All the whites are coming out.
Hey, but you will. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So hey, Stitch, so now you're back in boxing. Are you still doing MMA if they ask you? Just not particularly UFC, right?
Yeah, I was doing Bellator, PFL. I was doing Rising in Japan. But when COVID kicked in, Top Rank had 16 shows in the bubble at the MGM, and I lived 20 minutes from the MGM. So Brad Jacobs, the CEO, called me and Mike Basil to see if we would be interested in being the house cutmen. And of course, gave us...
And how does that work? You're there for whoever needs you?
Yes, right. Yeah, whoever needs it. It's not mandatory,
but... The house pays you, not them, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Top Rank during that era, because you could only bring 2 coaches, and some of them didn't have cutmen. Some guys didn't know how to wrap hands, so they offered these services to them. This is the program I put together when I was with the UFC. So for me, it's second nature, and they liked the program so much that after COVID, they kept Basil and myself in, and yeah, so.
So is it fair to say, and no disrespect on the title?
No, not at all.
Are you guys guns for hire, pretty much?
Yeah. Well, I still freelance,
Okay.
Yeah, it's in,
So nobody holds you like, no, you can't work with that.
No, not at all. No, I'm independent, bro.
You had said one time you had worked opposite guys sometimes, right?
You know, during COVID, I was working when they were the Top Rank cutmen. I was a house cutman for PBC.
Oh, okay.
But they had me in. It was a little different. They actually had me in the blue corner, the home team corner.
Uh-huh.
But one of my fighters that I'd worked with his whole career was on the other side. Yeah. And I asked, like, hey, he's my fighter. And they're like, no, we want you to stay here. And that was a little hard because it's like, it's like going to a dance and watching your girlfriend go there with another dude, slow dancing. You know what I mean?
But I've done that many times, and especially in the UFC. I wrap your hands, work his cuts, And Vitor Belfort said it best. He goes, when I see Stitch walking into the dressing room, he brings that calming effect, even though I know he's working in the other corner. So they know we're not there. If I'm going to work with you, and I've worked against him,
your job. Yeah.
I'm going to give you 150%. It's just the luck of the draw.
And with that said, you don't need to say no names, Is there any fighter that just rubbed you the wrong way while you were working with them?
No,
They all were
and it was funny because Marco Antonio Barrera, I did his podcast, and he asked me a question that's never been asked before, and in Spanish, but in English was, has a fighter ever disrespected you? And I said, no, because
you don't look like a guy that would.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it, my job is to take care of you. Why would you disrespect me?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting questions, never been asked. But no.
Can I ask it in English?
Yeah.
Has any fighter disrespected you?
No, there was one guy. there was one guy in MMA that after the fight he fought George St. Pierre and Jason Mayhem Miller, and he's all full of blood. And our job is to clean him up before the cameras. He says, "Get the fuck out of my light." Yep, I left.
Yeah.
But then I saw him months later. He goes, "Man, I was just kidding. I forgot to tell you I was just joking with you." But nonetheless,
Yeah.
I don't have to put up with that. Yeah, I'm out.
I'm
out. But you were talking about crazy fights. The bloodiest fight I worked with, Jay Haran fought Jonathan Goulet, and Jay Haran took a knee, and that big vein we have, he popped it.
Yeah.
Cut was only about this big, but it bled so much like they had blood from the top of the head to the bottom of their feet. So much it made me nauseated.
I seen the fight that happened a couple weeks back, and you had spoken
at Tim Zoo.
So
horrible.
That's one of my questions. What are the cuts that are like can profusely just continuously bleed? That one. That's that vein right there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and his is higher up, but it's still one of those big veins. And
that's when Fundura fought.
The Tim Zoo.
Yeah.
And I did tons of interviews on that. And the thing about it, the medication wouldn't work because there's too much of a blood flow that it wouldn't have the opportunity for the adrenaline to get into the veins. And plus the veins are a little thicker up there than they are up around here. But that one, yeah. And
in that case, if you would have worked that one,
I would have stopped it. Right from the get, right. The whole team should have stopped it from the get go. So you got and I know because
what do you do, Stitch, when if you were working that fight and it continues to be, do you turn to the team and say you want to?
No, I did that with Vladimir Klitschko. I'm gonna tell you the story. First time I worked with Vladimir Klitschko. First time, Emmanuel Stewart sees me. He goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about Vladimir." He goes like this. We're at the MGM, and he called and said, "Vladimir wants you to be his cutman." So the first fight I worked with him, he had just lost his world title to Layman Brewster, and he fought at Caesar's Palace against Devereaux Williamson. And in the first 3 rounds, he won the fight. We won the rounds. I always look at score, try to be a judge as I work the fights, right? And the first 3 rounds, he wins. Okay, so the 4th round, he gets dropped. Flash knockdown, he gets dropped. So that's 3 points to 2. And in the 5th round, that unintentional headbutt, that same cut. Right, and I've worked on those before in the MMA and UFC and all that, and I know that it's at a disadvantage. So percentage-wise, at that point, was the best opportunity for me to stop the fight. And I whispered to him and Vitaly, and Emmanuel Stewart's on this side. I said, "Look, you got a back cut. You're winning the fight. I'm gonna have the doctor stop the fight." So when the doctor came in, and I've worked with her many times. "What do you think, Stitch?" I go like this. I open the cut up. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Stopped the fight, went to the scorecards. He ended up winning the fight and became world champion after that. And two, three shows down the road. Yeah. 2-3 shows down the road, Jay Nady comes up to me. He's the referee for that fight. He goes, "Stitch, come here. Did you do what I thought you did? Did you open up that cut in front of Dr. Goodman?" I said, "I did." She goes, "That was ingenious." But that's knowing the game.
Yeah.
That's him being aware, knowing the rules,
probabilities,
knowing the rules,
and
the probable outcome. The fact that cut could have been a worse problem in the 9th round, that maybe he wouldn't have got the benefit of the doubt, and knowing that his fighter was up on the scorecards.
Yeah, and he got dropped once. Why couldn't he get dropped the second time? See, so the probability of him winning was at this highest point was right then and there, and I took advantage of that.
Let me ask you this. In California, I know you already know of it, the bare knuckle.
Yeah.
It's coming. It came to California. We got another one coming in July. God willing, I'm going to get me a referee a fight, but cutmen.
I love it. I work with.
Cutmen have to be in that thing at all.
100%.
In the back, Stitch, and Mike, I think I told you, in the back they had 5 gurneys and 5 doctors, just like Stitch and galore.
Dave Feldman called me. I started working with him. From their first fights, and I loved it. Great people, great promotion, great fights, great for a cut, man. Everything is super, super good. And then COVID kicked in, And then, like I say, I started working with Top Rank, and then once COVID finished, then I just continued with Top Rank. But Dave Feldman had the doors open. I love it. I think the sport is good. The injuries that they receive are short-term injuries,
Yes, all
opposed to long-term injuries.
Yeah.
Cuts are 100% inevitable.
But if a new,
Broken hands.
If a new cut guy came in, would you tell him try bare knuckle right
No,
away?
not at all. I would no, not at all. No, not at
It's
all.
like throwing them in the line.
Yeah, no, you have to. Hey, listen, I've worked on cuts like this. You know, I forgot his name. He sent me his picture. I have a picture of him. I counted 10 cuts, and he said, "No." I saw him like 2-3 shows later. He goes, "No, I had 12." He looked like Chucky, you know, all cut up and all that.
How do you feel about bare knuckle?
No, I mean, and he makes a good point, because a lot of the injuries are very short term, because you're not absorbing like 10, 12 rounds of 400 head blows, because when you get struck with the bare knuckle and the fights are a lot shorter, cosmetically it doesn't look as good.
Yeah, you don't.
And you know what? Nobody's making these guys do it. They're fighters. They want to fight, and this is an alternative way for some MMA and boxers to maybe are not at the top level of their MMA and boxing game anymore, and it's an alternative way for them to still make a living.
On the referee side, to me, it's 99.9 boxing.
Yeah.
Just without the gloves.
Yeah, and one thing is they could hold and hold. And at first, when they first started, a lot of guys were going to the top of the head and breaking their hands.
Yeah.
So now they're learning to work a lot from here down.
Well, I was ringside when Angulo fought.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, surprisingly enough, he fought.
I love Angulo, but I always say, man, he gets mad when you don't hit him.
Mm-hmm.
He takes more shots than a diabetic.
But
that's good.
He fought, and man, surprisingly enough, man, he like sidestep and just threw a right hand right down the pipe.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't panic when he gets hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but it's a Cutman's
But
dream.
I'm thinking, because it's bare knuckle, you would, wow, this feels a little different, you know?
Now, you know, this slap fighting, that's something I'm against. It's horrible. If anything is going to create long-term damage, it's that, right? It's not even a sport, man. They're cracking each other. Stupid. But it's high in the social media games.
I don't see why. I don't see why, but yeah, I don't understand it. I remind me of my mom, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you're saying again? Let me ask again. If a new cut man, hey, I'm gonna try bare knuckle, you would tell him, hit your brakes a little.
Well, he shouldn't even be asking that question. If he asks that question, he's a dummy anyway.
You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, he's stepping way out of his league.
There you go.
You know, way out of his league, and
Slow down.
And I get messages all the time.
A 4-rounder maybe.
People want to. They ask me that question all the time. I want to be a cut man. What do I do? And I said, look, you got to spend hours and days and weeks and months and years in the gym.
To say, Stitch?
Yeah.
Some of them are just looking for the glory, the hype.
100%. Oh, hell yeah.
Well, when you see them with a funny hat or a vest or a cute nickname, or that swab in their mouth or their ear,
100%.
We already know where they're coming from.
Yeah. Already percent. Yeah.
And it ain't fair to the fighter.
No, it's not. But the fighters don't know. That's why I try to educate, Ray.
Yeah.
It's because the fighters don't know. You know, and it happens all the time. You'll see it tonight at the fights. You'll see bad cornermen. Because nobody teaches them how to be good cornermen.
Or they're not open to listen to people.
Well,
their ego gets in the way.
Well, the new generation in the old days now, it's yo lo sé todo, I know that area, you know. But the new generation are trying to learn, and I just for you guys here that want to learn, they just to see I finally put a video out because I was doing seminars.
That's what I was in my
interview. So I was always doing seminars, but I can't. Last one I did was in Mexico City, like 120 people, 40 on Zoom. You know, so I did one on video that's at stitchduran.com.
Stitchduran.com.
Just like 2 weeks ago. So you could buy the whole video that shows everything, and it's like $50. It's just nothing, you know. Or you could rent. Of course.
Schools are charging $1,200.
Yeah. Or you could rent the segment on wrapping hands for boxing, or for MMA, or for swelling, or for the tools, or for cuts, and that's $10. So that's nothing, but it's not for me to make money. It's for you guys to understand, and that's what the game is. So it's stitchduran.com, and then we were talking about the bare knuckle fights. I'm also promoting a cream called the Cut Cream, and it's a CBD product with vegetable stem cell, aloe vera, a lot of healing agents for the healing process. So
That's the raza in you.
yeah. Well,
Raza always has those.
Does it got Vicks in it?
no.
Vicks is always in there.
So when these guys call me, I ask them.
Sana.
I ask them, what proof source do you have? Well, that's what we called you. So I took them to the bare knuckle fights. And that's when they would sew them up. Jay would give them the cream, take a picture of them, and a week later, they would send the results back, and they've been tremendous. So I'll show you the results. But that's available at stitchcutswithaz.com. And then finally, as we're closing, I got a cannabis line coming out. Crazy.
Tell the fans.
I got a cannabis line coming out. The guys that do for like Snoop Dogg and Elton John, they're helping to distribute the CBD products. But I told them, I said, the best weed I ever smoked was the Aero Station in Thailand, Thai Stick. If you could create something as good as that, we'll call it Thai Stitch. So hopefully that's coming out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully
So you and the homies gonna sit in the park and smoke that stuff?
Yeah, like the good old days.
And Mike has warp tape, the warp tape shirts too. But you know what, Stitch? I just want to thank you for coming on. If the fans want to come up to you, you've always been fan friendly.
Yeah.
They're cool. Just don't get I'm asking, don't get disrespect back stupid questions, but say hi to Stitch, say hi to Mike, But hey, Stitch, I just want to thank you for coming on my show. I appreciate it, man. This is awesome. I know I'm gonna blow up. So with that said, I want to thank you, Mike.
No, of course, man.
No problem.
And then listen, I'm gonna send you guys right now. Email you guys this Boxer's Nightmare.
Okay.
And then take a look at the points. The points are priceless, bro. Priceless.
Yes.
And I looked at it and I'm thinking, wow, man, it's a shame that John passed away, that he couldn't see this glory. But I'm bringing it back as a tribute to him. A young kid just graduated, and
awesome.
I knew nothing about film. I thought it was going to be instructional, but we got so many interviews that we created this documentary.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes, sir.
So just kind of on a personal note, in the last month, I've worked against Stitch in a world title fight. And 2 weeks ago, my son Andrew, when he was with Gabriel Maestre, and my son Andrew Rodriguez with Stanionis, they worked against each other. So for me, what's better than doing what you love with the ones you love most?
That's right.
And what's even got you is the guys beat us, man. Chingado. You're gonna chingado the student. Hey, but that's the old saying, that martial arts saying, that when the student does better than the master, then the master's done his job.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I like
Yeah,
that.
of course. Yeah. That's a martial arts saying.
Say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
All right, guys.
All right. God bless, man.